There was more to it there. There was lunch, and there was talk, and I asked questions, and she gave answers, and I learned some things. But the most of what I learned was what she had given to me. And before I left, she told me, before you die, you will live like a Zapotec. You can't escape it. There is no way you can escape being a Zapotec. That is what you are. A few days later, I was to leave and come back first to Oaxaca by bus, then take the plane into Mexico City, and then, depending on my time, I wanted to take the bus back to Denver rather than the plane. I went to the bus depot. The only bus you can get on in Tehuantepec, even today, is the second-class Indian bus. It's a very strange place to get a ride on them. And they're always crowded because they load up at Villahermosa, which is clear on the other side of the Isthmus of Tehuantepec in Chiapas. So what happens is that I get on the bus, and I have with me Eric Van Hagen's book, Aztec Man and Tribe, a paperback. And I have a little overnight bag that's hard, overnight bag this big. Maybe you've seen them. They're put by Samsonite, brown, snap, the lid comes up and you've got a mirror here and so forth. But if you turn it this way, it's about the same height as a seat on a Mexican bus. So what I did, I reached a place where I couldn't go back any further. We were beginning to feel like sardines, and that was the way it's supposed to be. It would be 4 hours of this unless somebody got off and you could get their seat. You see? Now remember, my friend and his family and friends that I knew in Tehuantepec had come to the bus depot, and what they would do is they hired a band, and the band was going to play a farewell song for me. And the only song they knew that I thought that meant America to them was St. Louis Blues. The drummer was never with the trumpet player. And so they were playing, and they were handing me chiclets through the window, and we were laughing. And then the bus got started to leave. It had not become dark yet. And I look, and sitting here, where I'm standing, reading, I look, and here with God as my witness is the most beautiful lady I had ever seen in my life. I couldn't believe it. I mean, truly, striking, striking. I don't mean just beautiful. There was something else here. And I looked at her, and I thought, she's Indian. She doesn't understand English. And I said, you are very beautiful. She looked up at me, and she smiled, and she said, in English, you are very beautiful too. And I could have fallen over. But I tell you, it's the truth. About 15 minutes later, the bus broke down. The carburetor went kaput. They had to send back to Tehuantepec to get parts. They brought it out. It's now dark. It's getting late. And we're sitting there talking. And I'm learning about this lady. And in order to tell you about her, I want to do something. And I didn't think there would be all of you people here. But we got to kind of work fast on this, I think. But I've got a gift for you. Now what I'd like you to do is to start this here and reach inside and take one and hold it and pass it on. When you finish here, take it over there. Would you start here and just take it down, put your hand in, take one and pass it on. Everyone should have one of these. We talk, and as we talk, the more I talk to her, I'm finally sitting on my little suitcase there, and I'm looking at her, and I'm thinking, I would give my soul to know you forever. And as she talked, and I can't tell you, there's no way that I can tell you exactly what was happening or what I was feeling. But it was as if I knew her deeply, truly, truly deeply. And as we went along, I started looking at her, like her hands. Her hands were so gentle. her fingers so long, so artistic in everything about her. She wore a white blouse and a red corduroy skirt, white anklets and sandals. When we stopped somewhere on the road late at night to get some refreshments and so forth, she and I went off the bus, and we never got any refreshments. We stood and we talked, and she told me things about her people, the Zapotec. She told me about her mother and her father, and she told me. She said, I told her the story of what the old Bruja had told me. And she says, that's true. She said, I'll bet that's true, she said. I said, well, how is it that you know English? You talk it as good as better than I do, probably. She said, well, I have been very well educated. She says, I speak several different languages. We traveled, and what I learned was that I was traveling with a very extraordinary person. The feeling of love was very clearly there. And then we got into view of Oaxaca, and she took my hand, and she did to me what you just took from that bag. And I say, please, everybody get one. Everybody get one. I want you to have it. There's a purpose in what I'm saying. Get one of these and keep it. She gave me that. She gave me a kernel of corn. And when we got to the end of the road, which was not the depot at all, it was just the streets, we pulled up. I had my bag up on top. I went around to get my bag. I'll be right back. We'll go get coffee and something to eat. And I climb up, get my bag. I came down. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. The streets of Oaxaca, you can see everywhere. She's gone. She's gone. I looked here, looked there. I wondered, where the hell did she go? What happened? The next day, I stayed in Oaxaca. I said, I will see her somewhere. I sat at the Tule Cafe, which is on the corner across the street from the Zocalo, and you could look down and see the people walking. And I would watch for her, and I would see people who I thought maybe once I saw her, I knew it was her, and I ran 2 blocks to get to her. It wasn't her. I thought about what she had said. You see, she told me on the bus that she knew Castello Romero, and that Castello Romero had been her teacher. And she gave me her name. Her name was Monica. Monica was her name. And finally, after calling the station in Denver and telling them I'm going to be late because I had dysentery, I called Castello in Tehuantepec. That phone call has to go by the telephone to the phone office. They call a cab. They send a cab down to Castello's house or wherever he's at and bring him back to the phone. That's the way you made a phone call then. They brought him back. Castello's on the phone. I'm speaking to him. I say, a girl. Her name is Monica Romero. And it's my niece. And I said, oh, I didn't know. She didn't say that. I says, do you have her address? I said, I think I'd fallen in love with her. And he said, where did you see her? I said, on the bus. He says, Tony, that is impossible. Monica was killed in an automobile wreck in Los Angeles over a year ago. I felt sick. I say, who was this then? I seen a ghost. For the next year, I told the ghost story to the people that I worked with and friends and my family and so forth of the ghost. Next January comes. It's now 65. or 66. I go to Oaxaca. It's in the winter. It's January. I went to Oaxaca. I seen Castello. We talked. I said, do you have a picture of her? He says, I want to take you to her family. We went to her family. They live in the barrio of San Blas, and went into the house. I met the father, met the mother.